Sometimes I would ask players if they're interested in playing a one showmatch on stream, and they'd ask, is there prize money? And I would just say, well, maybe. If...
How did that first showmatch come about, and did you realize that was going to be the future of your content?
Kind of the motivation for that, came from years beforehand. I used to be, and still am to this day, a fan of StarCraft 2 esports. It used to be my main game to play. I used to watch 1v1 YouTube channels in StarCraft 2, and I wondered, why is there nothing like this in Rocket League?
If you're going to give some advice to a new caster on how they could improve, what would be the first thing for people to go and do?
From a technical standpoint, audio is the most important thing by far. You don't have to worry about like camera at all, because something sounds bad, people will turn off immediately. But if something looks bad, people will give it a little bit more leeway. They'll be like, "That's funny, it's lagging," or the slideshow, PowerPoint presentation. It's all memes, unless it's consistently bad. Then obviously you need to fix it. But
Johnny, welcome. Excited to have you on. We've known each other a long time in the Rocket League space. We met before either of us did anything work-wise in the space. It's been great following your journey from streamer, just having a bit of fun with Rocket League, to now one of the most influential people in the Rocket League space with your content and casting in RLCS. Let's go back to the start, though. How did you first get introduced to Rocket League?
I first heard of it from I can't remember if I heard of it from some friends, or like sometimes you just see what the boys are doing. You look on Steam and see what everybody's playing, and I saw some of my friends who I usually played on and off played video games with were playing Rocket League, and I thought, I swear I've seen that game. It looks really basic. I can't believe they're putting that many hours into it. I checked their hours and like, man, they've already put like 10 hours into this game. What are you like? How many times can you hit a ball before it gets repetitive? But yeah, they told me it's actually really fun, so I tried it out with them when they had the three of them. One of them wasn't on, so I hopped in, and they were just like incredible, so good at the game. I couldn't hit the ball, but they could occasionally hit the ball, so I was very impressed. It was just like the most fun I can remember having, being bad at a big title game. Some games, you play it, you're like, oh, I just can't wait to be better. I mean, Rocket League as well. But Rocket League really was just so enjoyable from the start. It was immediately. This is a ton of fun. We're having a great laugh for the boys. Just own goaling, missing open nets, missing the ball. Everything was just hilarious.
And were you streaming it from the start, or did that sort of come a bit later on?
I think I just started streaming around about the same time I tried Rocket League. The reason that I streamed was I'd always been a fan of streams since the Justin TV days. I just thought it was really interesting to have that connection between a world-class gamer and just random people who come to watch online. You have that direct contact through the Twitch chat. I thought it was really interesting. I'd always wonder what it would be like to be on the other side of that engagement, interaction. But I'm not very good at games, so I thought, well, nobody's really going to watch my streams, but, at least there's still some funny videos every now and then. Playing Rocket League with the boys was so much fun. I just put the stream live, broadcast would be automatically uploaded, and whenever something funny happened, there were no clips back then, but you could, timestamp a highlight, and then we could have a laugh at it watching it back. Sometimes somebody would come and say hi in the Twitch chat and, want to play some games, which was cool. It was fun to have kind of a new interaction. By then, Twitch was very big actually. But I'd never had the internet to really explore that until, funnily enough, right around about the same time I started playing Rocket League. Maybe a bit later, but round about the same time.
Yeah, because I think I came across you, it would have been early 2016, I believe. I was streaming, it was in my first few months of streaming. I remember finding you in game, and we both had our Twitch in our names. And so I sent my mod at the time, Craftman, who a lot of people will know as the guy in the crowd now, the leader of the RLCS chants in London. And so he went over to your stream, and the first thing he said, he was like, "Lol, he's a keyboard and mouse player." And I thought, well, we got to rinse him in game for that. So I did a bit of that. But then Craftman was like, oh, he's Scottish though, so he's sound. Like he's
I
actually
guess he's got Craftman Scottish as well, of course.
yeah. And so then it was this whole like, no, he's actually an all right guy. So I checked out your stream. And I was like, no, he seems all right. Like he's older, like he's a bit more mature, you know. And it was just like instantly, we're like, okay, this guy's cool. So we started raiding each other back and forth. And that was quite a fun like meeting through game with the Twitch in our names. But then you started having some viral streams, and like it was Ballspin was the first one. Tell us about the Ballspin stream.
Ballspin stream, I wasn't live at the time that happened, so I was just like messing about in free play, and I think I hit a shot, hit the post, it bounced up, hit the bar, hit the post again, went across the goal line a couple of times, and then it just stopped on the goal line about halfway in, halfway out, while the ball was perfectly spinning perpetually. And I immediately, I stayed with my brother at the time, and he knew that I'd been this streaming for fun. I told him, watch this, I bet you just if I go live streaming this spinning ball, people will watch it. It's exactly the kind of stupid, pointless content that at that era of Twitch, people loved it. They're like, this is fantastically like dumb. So I was right about that. You know, I think a lot of people, this is the only credit I can give myself for this, is that probably most people would have just been like, okay, that's kind of funny, and then scored the goal. But I thought, nah, I'll just go live with the spinning ball, not touch it, and I reckon Twitch will love that. And they did. It was like my 10x highest viewership ever. Some like Rocket League streamers who knew about me back then as a small streamer were going live just for 30 minutes so they could raid me, see how many viewers they could get me to have with really dumb content. But yeah, Twitch didn't. I think, I don't know if it was Twitch or some people who were just finding the stream randomly didn't know the Rocket League community. They were probably reporting me because it's not necessarily gameplay. I think at one point I just left to go get dinner, and I came back and I'd been banned on Twitch. So I got 24-hour ban because technically what I was doing was not gameplay. Back then there was no just chatting section. You needed to play games, or you needed to play a game. That was like the whole Twitch rule, the big global rule. So I left the ball spinning for 24 hours and then went live again 24 hours later. The ball was still spinning. Of course, like that blew up even more. People like, this mad lad has got a 24-hour ban, and he's just gone and waited it out. He left the PC on overnight, and now here he is again. And Rocket League Central, which was a big TO back then, maybe the biggest, they raided me after their grand final for whatever tournament they were running, so it hit even more viewers, and then people were joining, like some Rocket League personalities were joining the call, telling me challenges to do. I forget exactly, but yes, eventually somebody donated for me to just hold drive forward and see if eventually or hold boost and see if eventually my car would score the goal. And yeah, it did randomly after like 2 minutes. We saw the collision course was there, and yeah, that was the end of the ball spinning stream.
Kind of like the DVD thing at that point, where it was like,
exactly.
Is it going to hit the corner? I remember that vividly because I was one of the streamers who went live to raid you as well. I remember having your stream on my second monitor, cropping out the ball spinning, and then overlaying it on my stream as like, by the way, guys, there's a ball spinning right now on this guy's stream.
Yeah.
And then it became an emote for you as well. Like it was like such a big part of the early days.
Emote. What was it? Yeah. BTTV animated emote, a ball spin. So yeah, that was I wasn't partnered on Twitch or anything. There was no affiliate back then. I was, very much just a small streamer making very low income, next to no money off of streaming. And I think that probably boosted my, average concurrent from like 10 to 30, massive percentage increase, but realistically still a very small streamer after all that.
That was kind of like a formative moment for you in terms of, I can do dumb stuff on content and people will love that. But then the bigger, more formative thing for you was popping into a 1v1 between Scrub and Marky. And now you are known as the Showmatch guy. You've bolstered the 1v1 scene, and even more now with like international show matches, 2v2 show matches, fun format show matches. How did that first show match come about, and did you realize that was going to be the future of your content?
So the motivation for that, came from years beforehand. I used to be, and still am to this day, a fan of StarCraft 2 esports. It used to be my main game to play. I sometimes play it every now and then, but that's all based around 1v1 StarCraft 2. There are team modes, but it's mainly 1v1 is the esport, and StarCraft Brood War as well, the same thing. So I used to watch, 1v1 YouTube channels in StarCraft 2, and I wondered why is there nothing like this in Rocket League? I'd seen some 1v1 videos pop off, like Kronovi versus Gambit had like a million views. That was just one game. Marky Duda versus Kronovi had hundreds of thousands. That was just two games, or maybe even just one in a YouTube video. I don't even remember if Kronovi uploaded the second game. But yeah, 1v1, it was really popular. I loved watching it whenever somebody was playing ones, whenever like Marky Duda would be playing ones on a late night stream. I'd be watching just because it was so different from 3v3, which is the standard competitive game mode. Yeah, nobody was really making content around it though, which confused me. I wasn't a caster back then. There were plenty casters. Most of them, there was a couple of Europeans, but most of them were American. Shogun and the Pash, I think, were the first European casters. But yeah, I got asked quite a lot in my stream. People would say, "Would you cast a game?" Because I was older. I talked to Scrubkill and Marky on my stream, fairly often at the time because we were all Scottish. We kind of became good friends. They were the two best ones players on the planet. And yeah, I'd always told my stream I could cast. I reckon I could because from talking to these guys, I feel like I understand the ones game mode pretty well. At least to explain what they're thinking, what they're doing. And the way that the first show match came about was Marky I think he was waiting to play a ones tournament later that night. I was just playing 2v2 ranked with Scrubkiller on my stream. He loved playing 2s ranked on stream because he was 12, too young to stream himself. So he was just playing 2s, carrying me on my stream, and he had more followers than me. Just from carrying me on my stream, he had more followers, even though he never streamed, than I did. So good for him. He deserved it. Yeah, Marky asked Scrub, "Do you want to play some private ones?" And Scrub felt bad. He said, "Oh, we've only just started playing 2s, but Marky wants to play ones. What should I do?" And I told him, "No, you should go play 100%. That's a great practice." And then someone in my chat, I think, said, "You should watch." So I just asked him, I said, "Would you mind if I watch, if I just jump in the lobby and stream the games?" And he said he'd be fine with it. Marky said, "No problem." So that's what I did. Chat was like, cast, commentate. And I said, "Well, I can, but it won't be what you guys are used to. It won't be hype. I'm just going to tell you guys what I think the players are doing, what they're thinking, what's going on." And I was very honest with it. I was saying, this is a mistake. I'd seen a lot of their games. I'm like, this is something, this is a tendency he's got. That wasn't deliberate, that was an accident, that was lucky, and so on. And people really liked it. I think that's what made it blow up, is it was more unique, more honest, I guess, than other content around competitive Rocket League at the time. So yeah, one thing led to another. Scrubkiller's calling out everybody to play on my channel against him because he was the best. He thought he was the best ones player, so he wanted to prove it. And people wanted to be the guy to beat him. So yeah, my channel just kind of became a hub for 1v1 kind of grudge matches or 1v1 show matches very early on. I think Marky and Scrub were also the second ever match I streamed, and that one had like a $500 prize pool donated by the viewers, which at the time was a lot, especially for 1v1. So yeah, it just became very popular very quickly, and I had a ton of fun doing it. I thought, well, if nobody else is going to make this content, I will, because if somebody else is making it, I would watch. So I'm very happy to be the person providing it.
Yeah, and so I remember those kind of times when you started just doing these show matches, and you were very quick to try and make it as good for the players rather than like you were doing it for yourself a little bit, right? Like you wanted good content for yourself, but realistically, you were doing it because you wanted the players to have a place to do show matches. You had the prize pools for them. I mean, very quickly you put the prize pools up for them, and you didn't take any of the money from donations. All these kind of ideas where you were trying to push the players into the spotlight. And I guess that kind of came with the fact that you're a bit older and like, you're a bit more selfless at that time, where a younger streamer might try and take a little bit more of the sort of I deserve more in this kind of phase. But you've always been providing for other people. Has that been a big factor for your success? Because you don't have any problems with getting people on your stream.
I definitely think so. Sometimes I would ask players if they're interested in playing a one show match on stream, and they'd ask, "Is there prize money?" And I would just say, "Well, maybe." If the matchup is interesting to some viewers, maybe they'll donate prize money. If the games are close, they might donate prize money. But like you said, I just put all of the donations during show matches into a prize pool that I then pay the players. So that from pretty much from the start, I think the only reason I wouldn't do that is if somebody specified in the donation message, "Don't put this in the prize pool. This is for you. I've watched all your videos," or whatever. Then I would honor that. But yeah, if there was no message attached, I would assume that must be for a prize pool, so I'll just put that in there.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that most of the players, I'm sure there's some who would disagree. I can't speak for them all, but yeah, most of the players understood that I was a content and player first streamer, and of course I'm benefiting from this. I was getting content, I was getting notoriety, I was getting to practice my casting. But I think they saw that I'm not trying to take more than I'm getting. I'm trying to give back as much as I can. I've always tried to stay, true to that as well. When I grew to be a full-time streamer, full-time YouTuber, and became bigger and bigger in the scene, I always want to include other streamers and give other people content opportunities. I've always encouraged view parties, and I understand when some streamers don't want that. They want to keep the content to themselves because they want to protect their livelihood. But I think that it's very hard to tell whether opening up your stream to be view partied by all or closing it to not be view partiable by anyone. How are you supposed to know which one of those is more beneficial to the creator? It's such a gray area. So I've always defaulted towards telling people, yes, you can view party. I'd love to collaborate. I'd love to get as many people involved as possible. That kind of community feel to a lot of tournaments I've ran and show matches I've had. I think it only makes it better for everyone, including myself.
Yeah, and I think you can really see that with how you've supported someone like Fear, right? Because for the longest time, people were like, "Oh yeah, if you want to do a 1v1 show match, do it on Johnny Boy's stream." And you're always like, well, "If you want to do a show match, do it." I'm not the owner of all show matches ever, and it took someone like Fear to come through and really put the work in to finally take that second show match channel to the next level. And you've always been like, look, go support Fear. Like, he's an amazing content creator. So yeah, I think there's a lot of assumptions when you see people being successful and you assume they're trying to do it for themselves. But you've always got people involved. And I think one of the big things I want to ask you about, because your content has always been successful through you've come up with great ideas. We mentioned the Ballspin stream, but you've had so many ideas since then, like the crazy stacking of cars streams back in the day, and all that kind of the silly stuff. And then you've also now got your own podcast. You've got a lot of discussion based content that you do very well with. But I want to talk about your casting, because that as a journey was very different, where you had a long period of time where you didn't quite break through into the main RLCS broadcast for various reasons. Talk to me about that period where you weren't able to cast RLCS, even though a lot of people were saying, you should be casting RLCS and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that was all the way from season 1, because like I said earlier, there weren't that many European Rocket League commentators, so definitely I would have been one of the most well-known for commentary as well as streaming in the European bunch. But yeah, for RLCS season 1, Psyonix being an American company, hired an American production company in the west coast of the USA to run their esport, and a West Coast production company also collaborated with Twitch here in the West Coast, so very far away from Europe, and it did make sense that they just hired Americans to work through, and also one Canadian, Leafx, who's still doing hosting to this day. He was the only, I think, non-American in the initial wave of casters. But yeah, Shogun was brought in season 2, and I think people just assumed that over the years there would be more, EU casters, worldwide casters brought in. Yummy Cheeseman did season 3, and a few, quite a lot of the rest of the early seasons as well for LANs only. But I never really relied on that assumption, because, I don't know, I just never liked relying on someone else. In this industry, esports, and especially Rocket League, it's so young, it's very volatile. You never know how long things are going to last. So I thought there was definitely more value in just assuming that I'll never get any job offers, not just RLCS, but any gigs. I'll just purely focus on making my own content, and practice my casting on my Twitch, my YouTube, and stuff like this. I did do a lot of community tournaments. I did cast events, small LANs. I think the first LAN I casted that was significant was DreamHack Summer 2017, I think it was. But yeah, I didn't ever assume that I would cast RLCS one day. Even though a lot of people did, a lot of my close friends did, a lot of pros did, a lot of fans did. From season 1, did not make that assumption. I was like, well, if they ask me to do it, that would be cool, but I'm not gonna sit around and wait. I'm gonna keep on working at stuff I can control because that's somebody else's decision. I don't want to rely on someone else's decision to affect me.
Yeah, we were in a similar boat in that sense because it was Shogun was the only European, and then it was like if they bring anyone else on, it would be you or me at the time, wasn't it? And it was like if they go with Johnny, they're going for the preferred caster, but then you were a bit risky at the time with some of the things you were saying on stream, and there were some people at Psyonix who might not have liked you as much, and then like I was the safer option, but equally it was like why bring me on because they've already got a great team. So it was like that, and it was also like the visa issues were coming up at that time.
Visa was a real thing because early days it wasn't so much of an issue in esports, but towards the later seasons, I think a lot of esports Rocket League were like making sure that they had proper work visas for all the casters, which meant Shogun had to miss a couple seasons, Yummy Cheeseman had to miss a couple seasons of LANs, even like Shogun missing online work as well. So I knew that was part of it. But yeah, like you said, I also I maybe in an attempt to be the no filter truth kind of speaker on stream, definitely would have annoyed some people at Psyonix, but I knew that when I was saying like the one that I remember, I don't even know to this day if Psyonix were bothered by this, but they made a formatting mistake in season 2. I was managing Flipside Tactics at the time because that was Marky Duda and Cuxier's team. They were good friends of mine. They asked me if I would manage them, so I said sure. They boot camped to my house, well, my apartment, my flat, before season 2, which was a lot of fun. But that's a different story. The issue was in qualifying for season 2 World Championship, top 2 in league play would auto qualify, and then third, fourth would have to win one of 2 series, I believe. I don't recall the format, but they would have to win in a playoff on one day.
It's just one series.
One series, which is a big deal. Maybe you have a bad day, maybe somebody's internet's acting up. Like, there's a big difference between having to win a series in playoffs and not having to win, as you know. So I did not like that there was like in my opinion, just a formatting mistake. They didn't foresee this potential outcome that happened in a 3-way tie. With the way that they had it set up, and I believe it was set up right from the start of the season. So this wasn't like they didn't make any changes. They just simply didn't think about, well, how's this going to look in every permutation of a 3-way tie. And yeah, the one that they went with was, okay, if there's a 3-way tie, team with the best game win-loss will be removed from the tie. They qualify, and then the team with the second and third best game win-loss differential will be settled by head-to-head. And the issue with that is that there were some, without going into too much detail, there were some potential 3-way ties that teams would be benefited by throwing in. And if teams are ever, except from trying to snipe a matchup in a bracket, if there's ever a scenario in a format where a team can qualify by deliberately losing 3-0, but they don't qualify if they lose 3-2, something's gone wrong. And that's what happened. There was a realistic scenario going into the last day, and everybody was talking about it like, oh my goodness, it was K-Dop's team at the time. If they lose 0-3, they qualify. If they lose 2-3, they're out. Luckily for them, they didn't have to worry about that. I think they just won the series. But yeah, I pointed out the flaw in that format live on my stream. I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to back my boys here. I think they deserve top 2. They have a better game win-loss differential than the team who just got put through into second place. So I'm going to go live and talk about it. And our good friend Cole, he tuned into the stream. He's told me that he thought, oh, this is brilliant. Johnny's about to burn all the bridges over like just some nonsense. But he tuned in and he told me, wait, he's actually got a point though. This does make sense. Like this is ridiculous. How have they managed to miss this? And they actually did change it. So Psyonix obviously agreed, whether they or not they watched my stream or caught wind of the social media, storm that was happening around the topic. They did change it in line with what I was saying. So yeah, maybe I could have handled that behind the scenes, but I was like thinking, nah, this is probably the biggest impact I can have is just letting the public know this isn't this is not a valid format. It should be changed. It was, and yeah, still to this day not entirely sure. I don't know. If you were Psyonix, would that bother you?
I don't know. I remember because you had like some of the most viewers you'd ever had for a non like gameplay stream.
Yeah, I was just sitting talking at like over 1,000 viewers back then. It was a ton.
Yeah, and you also you kind of rephrase this one line, which was 61 equals 59.
Which 59 greater than 61 or something.
Yeah,
because that was the win
dumb.
percentages. The win percentage of Mocket Esports in third. They had 59% wins, and Flipside in second had 61. And they put through the team with 59 because of head-to-head. I was like, well, you can't do that. You've got to either use head-to-head. You put all three teams in a three-way tie, in which case Northern Gaming would have lost out, or you use game diff, in which case Mocket would have lost out. In neither scenario would the team I was managing, Flipside, have been outside of the top two, which is what made it, for me, even worse. It wasn't like you could just flip it and say, well, actually, we're just going to change it to that one, and now you're eliminated. Like, even if they changed it, regardless of what they changed it to, Flipside would have been through. I mean, rewind time, obviously it's easy to say now, but I probably would have done it again. But these days, obviously, like it's a lot more thorough. That stuff doesn't happen anymore. So there's not even a thought of would I have to do this again? No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, but I mean, this kind of stuff just happens constantly in esports, and there's so many things you can't know until it happens. I mean, we've just seen in Valorant the Ascension thing. I don't know if you saw much about that. They have.
I'm not too familiar, no.
So they have a tier 2 system, kind of like RLRS qualifying to RLCS, where RLCS in their equivalent is a franchise league. And they have this system where one team from the tier 2 can qualify into the franchise league. And in this scenario, what happened was the org that qualified couldn't afford to be in the franchise league, didn't fill out the forms, all that kind of stuff. So essentially weren't allowed to enter the franchise league. But then consequently, it meant the team weren't allowed to go in because they didn't have an org. But then,
oh my goodness!
So this whole thing's gone crazy because they then couldn't put the second place team in because that would completely destroy the first place team, all those players, the opportunity they could have got by going into the league. But then they also don't want to create a situation where another org can then just buy into the league by picking up this team. So this whole scenario has happened, and
this is now, right? Well,
this is happening right now, and the whole thing is like they didn't plan for this to happen because they didn't imagine a world where the winning team's org would essentially not fit the bill.
That's ridiculous that it still happens now, though. Like, we're talking about Rocket League Season 2. That's so long ago. It was very, very small, and mistakes did happen a couple of times with formats, but that to happen now is ridiculous for such a big esport. I can't believe that.
Yeah, so formats are something that's really challenging to do, and it's something that's part of your role, right? You work with Psyonix now and give advice around formats, and I guess we can fast forward past that era of where you were a content creator, not an RLCS commentator. Now you're known to be both. You're one of the most popular Rocket League commentators and a content creator at the same time. Talk to me about what you do as a commentator, because like we see the actual performance of you on camera, casting with Shogun, being on the desk, casting with lots of people now, but most known for casting with Shogun and having quite a strong analytical opinion. But I'm interested to know, like, what is your role beyond that? What don't we see as the general public behind Johnny Boy
in RLCS or in casting? You mean
RLCS casting and the support behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff?
Right, yeah. I guess the main things that people don't see, mostly for myself and Shogun, would have been the early improvements we made. For now, we've got a very established combination. We know exactly what to do, and we haven't really had to make massive changes. Sometimes small day-to-day changes, or small adjustments for online versus LAN, but really not much. Like Shogun and I are quite happy, and have been for a long time, with our work together. But yeah, early days, we didn't really make public and talk about publicly what we were doing to improve and how we were trying to improve together. But yeah, we worked together from extremely early as a duo and tried to be as good as we could be, and really try and elevate each other, elevate us as a duo, rather than trying to be the guy on the mic. I mean, I still, you'll know plenty of examples, but I still laugh whenever I hear clips of casters trying to be the guy talking when the big moment happens, and trying to steal the call that will be in all the B-roll, so they can say, "Look, that's my voice," and they can show it to the next event and say, "Hire me, I'll do that again." Like, I get it. Everybody has to look out for themselves, but now even before I was casting RLCS, that wasn't the goal. The goal was, almost to like pass the mic in situations like that and share those moments. And I think that's it's very clear, I think, now that that's how we operate. But when we were developing that, that took a lot of talk behind the scenes, a lot of talk between the two of us and other casters in the scene as well, to improve as a duo. But yeah, more these days, I guess. The behind the scenes work is mostly story building, content, doing analysis on players, teams, thinking about Gamers 8 specifically. That's a tournament incorporating 1v1 players, so a lot of the casters will just ask me questions and I'll just tell them the answer. I'm not trying to like hide my homework or hide my knowledge from the rest of the team to make myself look good. I want the broadcast to be as good as possible. I want everybody to be as knowledgeable and feel as confident as possible talking about players and teams that they may not be familiar with. So that's I think something that I don't know how unique it is to Rocket League, but I think it's pretty unique to Rocket League, where the team kind of first approach of commentary teams, it's really nice to work with, rather than everybody trying to elevate themselves and trying to put themselves in the spotlight as much as they can.
Yeah, I think that's something people don't realize. I got to see it last season, well, season before last now, technically, when being part of the team, is how much of a synergistic approach it is of, hey, what do you recommend on here? Giving people advice. Like even at the last Worlds, I saw Turtle there and I went, hey, Turtle, I hear you've been working on your voice. I can hear it in your casting. And he was like, oh, thanks, man. I've been really trying to improve my vocal tone, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, even if it was just listening to each other's casting and giving them a bit of advice here and there, or when we've had reporters, like for example at Gamers 8 last year, when we had people like Veracity and Barney, and it's like, right, we don't want to make them look bad, so we'd give them everything we could to bring them up, and then they'd give us advice. The early days Onset was such a big influence for us as definitely. Casters. So I think in Rocket League we've always been very fortunate that we've got a massive team environment, and I think it's something a lot of esports have learnt to do, because I think there's been a few historical esports teams which have battled, and it's just made everyone worse, and people hear about that stuff, it gets spread about. So I think a lot of esports now are taking on this teamwork approach, and we're better off working together than we are being apart and separate. So Rocket League's definitely done that very well, and you can see it in particular this season. I think it's been the season where I've seen the most improvement from everyone. So it's been good to see. When it comes to the kind of the technical side of things, when you work on stuff, like I know you've worked on your voice a lot, you've worked on the setup as well, like a lot of it is just getting better equipment, right? If you're going to give some advice to a new caster on how they could improve, obviously everyone's different, but like what would be the first thing for people to go and do?
Well, from a technical standpoint, audio is the most important thing by far. You do not need to worry about a video. Well, obviously, like the video quality for like a stream, if you're live streaming, is important as well. But you don't have to worry about like camera at all. It's all about the audio. It's all about how good it sounds. Because something sounds bad, people will turn off immediately. But if something looks bad, people will give it a little bit more leeway. They'll be like, "That's funny, it's lagging," or the slideshow project, PowerPoint presentation. It's all memes, unless it's consistently bad. Then obviously you need to fix it. But yeah, I'd say audio first. I had this headset I have right now is a bit of a newer one because I had to replace the old ones. But I had the same headset for about 5 years that I would have bought. I don't remember exactly when I bought it, but when I started doing commentary more seriously, I got a Sennheiser headset like the one I'm wearing. The reason I did that is because whenever I would work events like Gfinity or whenever I'd work smaller LANs, these were they're the golden standard for broadcast headsets. So I thought, well, why don't I get one? And then anytime I'm casting on my stream, anytime I'm talking into the same mic. I'm practicing with the same microphone as I would when I go to a live event. And I became, I guess, better at that just over thousands of hours and thousands of games, tens of thousands of games. casted on my stream over the years. So that would be my technical advice, just like sound quality. If you really are serious about broadcasting, but I'd say maybe like wait until you have, at least community tournament level casting regularly. Yeah, it could be, you could justify investing in a studio headset, but they're not that great for gaming. They're not very comfortable. So if you're just trying to game with the boys, I wouldn't recommend it. There's much better, cheaper options that are more comfortable for wearing for long periods of time. Yeah, from a more creative standpoint, it sounds a bit cliche, but I think it's very important to be genuine. A lot of commentators, a lot of casters, they try to be someone that they think it sounds like a good caster. They're like, okay, a good caster would say this, so I'm going to say that. And there's an element of that that's true, but you need to be genuine. You shouldn't try and show emotions that are not like regular, normal emotions you would show. Like if you've got, this is your range of like hype and serious, and then you're trying to, take it to the like a different level, that just forcing it, people are going to know. If you're trying to if you're trying to force too many jokes, like everybody can tell as well. Like why are you trying to be funny? Just relax. Everybody should just be genuine, be honest with their commentary, and try to enjoy it. I mean, again, everything I'm saying is so cliche, but it really is the truth. So many commentators in esports, especially smaller productions, they're all they care about is getting to the top, and in an attempt to do that, it's almost like they're disgusted with where they're at, and they can't be bothered watching the trash gameplay in front of them. They're just annoyed. If you're annoyed as a caster, if you're just not enjoying yourself, then why would anybody want to listen to you talk about the game at any level? Never mind like a lower level, like a bubble player team level. So you've got to have a laugh with it. I feel like it's way better to have a laugh at an own goal or a mistake than to say, oh, that's not what we want to see, that these kind of mistakes have got to stop. Like, come on. You don't have to ruin the party. Misses and mistakes are hilarious. I love casting bronze games, and it's like a challenge almost to hype up something that really isn't hype. But I feel like I can cast bronze, plat, bubble, pro, anything, because I want to have a good time. I want to just make it entertaining for the viewers, but also like being honest at the same time. Everybody knows I'm a more analytical guy. I'm not the most hype caster, and if I tried to always be hype and tell people, wow, everything that you're seeing is the best play you've ever witnessed, I'd be lying, first of all. Secondly, people would be like, why are you being fake? So yeah, being genuine and enjoying it, as cliche as it is, that's like most important things. And yeah, definitely listen back to your cast in the early days, and try not to be annoyed at the sound of your own voice. Try and be self-critical, because other people will be critical of you, but it's better to just look away from what other people are saying, at least social media comments, and really just try and be as self-critical as you can to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, I think you can apply that to anything in esports and content space, really. Like, just be yourself. Don't try and like fake it and be something different to what you are. And then also just put the work in, but enjoy it, right? Because it's the same thing with any hobby. If you're doing a hobby to make it your job, that's always the wrong reason. Like you mentioned at the start, you used to stream just because you wanted to put the stream on and have some fun with your friends.
It was just a laugh, yeah.
Yeah, and like I was streaming because I just wanted to, like make some content, have some fun with it and everything, and like build a community and everything. But like I never thought this was gonna be my job. Every bit of money I made from it was to try and buy new equipment, to have some more fun with something, more expensive. Try this like new monitor, try this new mic or whatever it is. So yeah, definitely. I mean, it comes from a place of privilege that you can put the work in and have a bit of fun with it. And there's a lot of people who are like, if I'm putting this work into it, I should be making it my job. But then ultimately, I don't know if it's the right thing for you.
Well, it's also discipline. If somebody asks me, how do I become a streamer? How do I become a caster? Or somebody asks, my son, my daughter want to become a streamer, what should they do? Like the first answer is always, well, that shouldn't be your only goal, even if it's your main one. It shouldn't be the only thing you're working on, because it's such a unreliable career choice, and it works out for so few people that I wasn't only live streaming and making content when it became feasible for me to go full time. I was job hunting and engineering because I have a structural engineering degree. Like I've been to uni, got my degree, also had like a license for a particular heavy goods vehicle. Like I had multiple things I could do and fall back on. I'd done construction with my dad, who's a builder, has been for like 40 years. So I didn't just go into this thinking, well, I hope it works. Otherwise, what am I going to do? I had backup options. I had plenty of options of things I could do. And I was, in fact, in the middle of job hunting when my stream like just rapidly got to the point where it went past minimum wage and straight to like average wage. And I was like, well, okay, I can actually just do this full time. I should just stop putting time. Now that I'm actually making, a good wage off this monthly. It was Twitch and YouTube combined, actually mostly YouTube. Then it was a I think at that point a good decision, but before that it would have been a risk that I think would not be worthwhile.
Yeah, I, before we get into the final few questions with that top 5 games and stuff, sorry, I've been going a lot more detail than I was expecting here, but I did want to ask you about the sort of grind set you had when you first went full time, because you are a hardworking person when it comes to things you're interested in, and you've got quite an obsessive mindset around that. Because I remember early Insomnias when you were there casting, and you were thinking about your YouTube, like your brain was constantly on with that kind of stuff. And I'm exactly the same when it came to coaching, when it came to casting, all that kind of stuff. My brain would just constantly fire about it. Whereas I feel like, having known you as a friend, you calmed down now, and you've got a much better life balance when it comes to work and spending time away from work and enjoying life outside of the content grind.
Yeah,
talk about that mindset. What's it like? What's the experience like for you when you're caught up in that grind set?
I guess the most clear example of how different it was. I'm trying to remember how old I would have been. Maybe 25, probably 26 is when I got partnered on Twitch. When was the first Insomnia? Was it like a July or something of or June? Maybe
I can't remember exactly when it was, but yeah, it was around that.
I think it was June 2017. Even. So
2016.
No, it's 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
And I was. So I think I'm a little bit guessing here, but I think it was around about a time or a couple of months after Twitch had released Twitch Prime, and that is when it really like looked to be okay. Hold on a second here, there might be something here. And I do remember if it was that time frame, I wasn't yet partnered on Twitch. So in order to get partnered back then, you needed to average, I think it was like 400 or 500 concurrent viewers 3 months in a row with a certain amount of hours streamed, like 25 hours streamed or something. I'm probably wrong on a few of those numbers, but it was pretty difficult back then. So I had to be very selective, very consistent, and very successful for me with my content. And I was on track to doing it. So this is, I was fully focused on that, because if you can get partnered, now suddenly you're making money on Twitch instead of nothing. So big deal those 3 months can make. And you had to apply and then wait for your application. Very stressful, but yeah, I would have been extremely focused on that. All the while, YouTube, is much easier to get monetized on YouTube, and it was back then as well. So my only money that I would have been making outside of small donations would have been from YouTube. So yeah, I was tailoring content to both, like trying to live stream content that can go on YouTube, and actually get some ad revenue while I'm, trying to get partnered on Twitch. So yeah, it was full on. That was all I could do. I think I did an Insomnia event in the middle of all that. Don't recall if I streamed from the venue the first time, but I probably would have. In fact, I almost definitely would have, because that seems like easy way to get 500 concurrent plus. So why wouldn't I? I definitely streamed from the second Insomnia. Yeah, it had to be. Like I said, it wasn't my only thing I had on the go at the time. I had other options, but it was around about that time, mid 2016, when I realized I think of this. If I really put my head down and do the work, I can definitely get Twitch partner, and then from then I guess we'll see. Actually, now that I've said it, no, Twitch Prime wasn't out, so I got partnered before Twitch Prime, and then Twitch Prime got released. I was like, okay, now my estimation for how much money I would make has just tripled on Twitch, because Twitch Prime just tripled everybody's subscriber revenue. I was like, well, that's a very lucky timing for me, I guess. So yeah, it all panned out, but I was fully focused on that. I couldn't really dedicate much time to, like, let's say I dating or whatever. I wasn't dating anyone at the time. I couldn't dedicate enough time to do that, or mental energy. So I was like, right, I'll just focus on. It's like what people say, you got to focus on yourself. But for me, focusing on myself was trying to build the Johnny Boys brand, not really me myself. It was more like my alter alias that I was focusing on.
Yeah. I think the similar thing for me was when I first joined Vitality. And I describe it as like conscious hours of when you first go full time with it and trying to attempt it. Anytime you're conscious, you're working because you're just constantly thinking about it. And so it's really hard when you're around, like, you've got to be able to support those kind of people, family and friends, and be like, supportive. But just understand that there's a lot of time those people are not going to think about anything other than their career, because it's scary, the idea of it suddenly going, and you don't want to lose it while it's there, right?
Yeah, opportunities can be very fleeting. So even now, I'll have those like days or weeks where I'm completely switched on and just focused on either a tournament or a series of streams or an event. And yeah, like you said, every waking minute is some kind of active or back of your mind thought about that. So yeah, being self-employed is nice because you've got the flexibility to work when you want for yourself, but it also makes it difficult to disconnect at times. I've become a lot better at that over the years, and obviously being more successful makes that easier. But yeah, still, like there'll be weeks or definitely like a few days in a row where I'm just fully focused on a goal, forget to do everything else, and I'm like, what? How have I forgotten this? Oh yeah, it's because every like brain cell I have is working on this other thing in the background that's going to benefit Johnny Boy.
Yeah, well, hopefully this off season you can take a bit of a break, but I'm sure there'll be something that will come straight up, whether it's 1v1 or an off season thing. We'll be seeing plenty of you in the off season. But let's cast your mind back to the games that have made you who you are today. You mentioned StarCraft, and obviously Rocket League is a big part of today's conversation. But we ask all of our guests what their top 5 games are, and how you interpret that is up to you. They can be games that were influential on your career. They can be games that you've got good nostalgia over, or whatever you want to interpret that as. But what's Johnny Boy's top 5 games?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite easy for me because I was always a one game person at a time. And the first PC game that I played was World of Warcraft. It would have been the Burning Crusade back then. That was my main game for probably a couple of years, maybe 3 years. I forget exactly. But yeah, that was my first introduction to live streaming. I remember watching World of Warcraft streams on Justin TV. So that's obviously a massively influential game for me based on what I'm doing now. StarCraft 2, definitely. That was my first introduction to serious esports. Seeing South Korean StarCraft 2 and all the rest of the world just trying to keep up. Yeah, that one easily one of the most influenced my content as well, because I was wondering, like I said, where's the Rocket League version of this that I used to watch in StarCraft 2? Massive market for it, nobody's making it. So that, yeah, they're easy. Rocket League, of course. No need to explain that one. I'd say League of Legends, because yeah, I really like StarCraft 2 as my main game to play. So did a lot of my friends that I played games with, and then they all switched to League of Legends, and I was actually really annoyed. I was like, what? I just hit Master in StarCraft 2. I'm actually getting pretty good, and now they want to play League of Legends and be Bronze again. So I was like, all right, fine. I guess we're Bronze in League of Legends now. But yeah, I grinded that game up to Diamond 1 when Diamond 1 was the highest rank, so ages ago. I'm terrible now, probably stuck in gold or platinum or something. But yeah, that was another, like, just StarCraft 2, League of Legends. There were 2 games where I got seriously into the esports side and really started to follow it closely. I mean, for number 5, that's hard to say because there's no like clear esport related or content related game that I played. There was kind of a window between League of Legends and Rocket League where I played 3 games. I played Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, and World of Tanks.
Yeah, I remember you liking a bit of Hearthstone. I remember that.
I think Hearthstone would probably have to be number 5. It's like my most played, most influential game, because yeah, that was, I think, more influential on the content side than the esport. I did watch the esport a little bit, but nowhere near as much as StarCraft 2, League of Legends. Probably not even as much as World of Warcraft Arena back in the day. Certainly not Rocket League. So yeah, more of a content game there, and it probably like inspired a lot of ideas for how to be a streamer and a content creator.
Yeah, I mean, you can see why you're a keyboard and mouse player with those picks
Exactly,
as
they're
well.
all KBM.
Yeah, I mean, I started KBM as well, but I quickly switched over to controller. I was familiar with controllers in general, like I was a Nintendo gamer, so
Hmm.
I'd used controllers before, but it was more I just didn't have a PC controller because I was a
I
Minecraft
see.
guy.
Yeah.
So then I bought my first controller for Rocket League, and I've bought far too many since. I think there's about 7 PS4 controllers on my shelf over there. Like, everyone
Yeah.
that's retired.
I tried, but I just felt wrong. I was like, it just feels wrong using a controller at the PC, so I just went back to KBM. And at the end of the day, I thought, well, it's definitely harder to learn this, but I don't think in the long run the difference will be that significant, because it's just KBM, you need more actions per minute, so there's more opportunities to make a mistake with your inputs. But if you practice it enough, I mean, some of the best players in the world are KBM players now, currently. Like
Yeah.
best player in South America, Drafinho, I think is KBM.
And
And
freestylers as well, which is the
yeah,
more
freestylers are very
mechanical.
mechanical.
Yeah.
Sadness from South America. Quite a lot of South American players are
Mm.
KBM, and back in the day OCE as well. And yeah, even Europeans like Fruity and Yukio both won LANs, big LANs in Rocket League playing keyboard. So it's definitely not the keyboard that's holding me back. I'm just not very good at the game.
Probably
Slash
be
don't
the
play enough.
probably be the age, the the graying hairs that's probably affecting you more.
Yeah, probably a little bit. It's harder to learn. Probably just slower with the automatic picking up of things. Based on the evidence, the ample evidence we have of young players being better at Rocket League. But yeah, I've stopped. Like I never tried to brand myself as a good player. I always said I'm bad, and anybody I beat, I say now they're bad as well. That was, I think, the route I took very early. I've stuck to that ever since.
The classic ranked comment of stick to casting, and you're like, well, I was planning on doing that. I'm just playing a few games for fun right now, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, it's been amazing chatting to you through your whole journey, and I think there's a lot of stuff in your journey that you haven't necessarily spoken about recently because it's so long ago. Like it's been 7 years or so of both of us grinding our way through Rocket League, and I think for me, you've always been someone who's shown that the dedicating yourself to something that you're good at, you'll eventually get rewarded for it, because some of those early streams of yours, you just saw an opportunity and you recognized something that was good, and then you've got better off the back of it. Like, you weren't a great caster when you started. You were
No,
all right.
Yeah.
You
I
were
was
all
like
right for the
smart.
scene.
I probably knew more about the game than other casters, but that wasn't because I was like naturally like a good color caster. It was just because I talked to Scrubkill and Marky Duda a lot and listened to what they said about the game, because they were the best players in the world. So well, whatever they said made sense. And yeah, that kind of luck, I guess. Like, Scotland's not really known for esports, but right when I was looking to get into streaming for fun, the two best 1v1 players in the world, who are also two of the best 3v3 players in the world, happened to be from Scotland. And Marky Duda, funnily enough, lived 5 minutes, maybe 4 minute walking distance away from where I lived in Glasgow at the time. We're both in Glasgow, Scotland. So yeah, lots of coincidences early. But yeah, we're still friends to this day, all three of us, and don't get to talk to them as much as it did back then. But it's still really cool when they pop up, like seeing Scrubkiller make a run with Hogan mode, seeing Marky getting into coaching. Makes me really happy.
Yeah, that's almost a good example of why Europe forms more young talent. Of if you've got your countrymen around you who can give you advice, you had access to two of the best players in the world at the time because you were Scottish.
Yeah, it wasn't fair. I was like, this is actually just unfair. Like, I'm the only caster with access to these people at this level. I used to annoy them so much with like questions about Rocket League and what they think, should be done in, this position, or what the play is here, and so on. Like Rocket League philosophies, which, like, in large part do stand up to this day. They stand the test of time. The core like fundamentals that they had established extremely early. So that was a kind of a cheat code, I guess. Just it's who you know, not what you know.
Yeah, and you've been that person who everyone wants to know for a long time now, as you've provided so many great opportunities for everyone. But we do end the podcast with the same question, and that is, what does gaming mean to you?
Gaming to me is it's bringing people together. The thing about gaming, in every aspect of what I do, streaming, playing, casting, anything, it's like giving opportunities for long lost friends to reconnect thanks to online gaming. That's one of the coolest things actually, is when, I don't know if this is just a guy thing, but whenever I hop into a call with somebody I've not talked to for years because we want to play a game that just came out or a game that just got a patch, we'll just be like, all right, how you doing? Good. What you been up to? Not much. All right, cool. Let's play. 2 years gone by, nothing has happened. Here we are back like it was yesterday. So that's really cool. Way to reconnect, and yeah, the opportunities to meet people from different parts of the world, learn about their culture, learn about where they're from, learn about them. That's obviously been made so much more possible due to the online communities, and well, especially for me within Rocket League. And yeah, that's something that especially became clear during the pandemic is, gamers were surviving, I guess, coping a lot more easily than, at least online gamers, than people who didn't game online, because we had a different social connection that others had. So it's not a direct substitute, but it is another type of social connection. So that's what it really is for me, is opportunities to connect. And I guess the final one would be with fans to be able to make something, make content, to be a part of moments that for them will be enjoyable, help them separate from the stresses of everyday life and think about something different. That's like a good opportunity as well. Whenever people comment that they love falling asleep to my videos, I take that as a good thing, because I do the same with with other videos sometimes when I can't sleep. So yeah, that's like the first thing, I guess, that comes to mind. Opportunities to meet, reconnect, and just engage with so many people from around the world.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you very much.